In the previous video, you've set up an OpenSearch node with the security plugin installed. And in this video, we're going to set up OpenSearch Dashboards with the corresponding Security Dashboards plugin installed. And what the Security Dashboards plugin is a plugin for the user interface for OpenSearch, which is OpenSearch Dashboards. And it allows you to interact with the security plugin dynamically through a user interface. So, the first thing you're going to do in this video is navigate to the Security Dashboards plugin repository on GitHub. So you're going to go to the following URL, which is the github.com OpenSearch project Security Dashboards plugin. When you arrive here, you'll arrive at the main repository view for the Security Dashboards plugin, where you'll see the list of files where you can browse the file system for the repository, and then the README down below, which gives directions for installation and a developer guide for contributing to the project. In this video, we're going to follow the developer guide to get you set up to contribute to the Security Dashboards plugin. Now, as a prerequisite to this video, it's assumed that you've watched the previous video to set up OpenSearch with the security plugin installed. And so what you did in the previous video is you set up the security plugin with a demo configuration for security in a cluster. Now, included in that demo configuration is a list of users, some certificates to set up secure traffic to and from the cluster and between nodes of the cluster. And also it gives you some roles and some other of the initial setup for the security plugin. Now, just to quickly go back to mention a little bit from the previous video, you should see something like this. Now, as of the time of this recording, I am using 3.0.0, which is the next unreleased major version of OpenSearch. And if you're cloning the repositories and using the main branch, you should get the same version as well. Now, you'll see this is what I call the OpenSearch home directory. When you have a built version of OpenSearch, you'll see these corresponding list of files inside. You'll see a lib directory, which is going to contain some of the jars for OpenSearch. And then you'll also see this plugins directory here. Now, if you installed the OpenSearch security plugin, when you list the contents of the plugins directory, you should see OpenSearch security in there as well. Now, if this looks like the setup you have running, then what you're going to do next is you're going to run it with ./bin. Bin is short for binary. It means compiled files that are executable, /OpenSearch, which is the executable that runs the OpenSearch node. Now, if you do not see the same setup, please go back to the previous video and make sure you follow those instructions until you see something similar to this. Now, you'll see when I run OpenSearch, there's going to be some logged output to my console right here. Now, I'm going to wait until I see a message that says that this OpenSearch node is initialized. So it'll probably take roughly 10 seconds, maybe a little bit less on your computer, but you should see a message similar to this when the node is started up. Now, what I want you to do is go back to the developer guide here, and I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. You're going to see a curl command down here. A curl is a way that you can execute HTTP requests from the command line on your computer. What I want you to do is copy this command and run it in a terminal to verify that you're up and running. And I'll just take a moment to briefly break down what this command is doing right here. This is sending a web request to the cluster. Now, by default, OpenSearch runs on port 9200. And you'll also see in here admin:admin. What this is if you're running the demo configuration, you'll have a default list of users, and admin is one of those users, and the default password is admin. And so the way I read this is username:password. Localhost is going to refer to my local computer. It's the local network for my machine. 9200 is the port. That's where TCP traffic goes into and out of. And HTTPS here is the protocol. Now, security gives encryption to OpenSearch. And so I'm using HTTPS here because we're running the OpenSearch node with the security plugin installed with the demo configuration. So the traffic to there is encrypted. Now, I want you to copy this command go on to a different terminal session because this is running a node, and so unless you've detached this to run in the background, you will need either a separate terminal window, or in my case, I'm using a program here called iTerm. I open up another tab, and here I'm gonna paste that curl command in, and what you're gonna see is some output that looks like this. Now you should see in here this version key, and inside you should see some values similar to what's displayed below. What you should see here, number, is the version of OpenSearch you're running, and for us, as of the time of this video recording, is 3.0.0-snapshot. And you should see some of the other metadata here, such as the tagline, such as the name of the cluster, and some others here as well. Now you need the backend up and running for the front end. The front end needs the backend to connect to. It cannot run by itself without that backend up and running. So please make sure that you have all the steps to the prior video complete before proceeding. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the developer guide for the Security Dashboards plugin, which has some detailed information for how to get set up and running locally. So the first section is what we've really covered just there. That is the prerequisites, which is having OpenSearch node up and running with the security plugin installed. And you'll see here, this is giving you a matrix of versions of OpenSearch. Main is always going to have the next unreleased major version of OpenSearch, and you'll see prior versions of OpenSearch here, 1.3 and also 2.x. With the OpenSearch versions, the branches correspond to major versions of OpenSearch. Anything you see in X means unreleased code. So as of the time of this video recording, OpenSearch 2.6 is in the process of being released. So 2.x is now currently referring to unreleased 2.7 code, but come the next release, 2.x will cut a branch for 2.7, and then 2.x would be incremented to the next unreleased version on the 2.x line, which would be 2.8. So now I'm going to continue with the rest of the document, and now we're going to get really to the meat of it, which is installing OpenSearch Dashboards with the security plugin installed. So OpenSearch Dashboards is a second repository, so what you're going to do here is click on the link to the OpenSearch Dashboards repository, and you're going to clone this somewhere on your local computer. Now I have done this before, but what you would do is you'd run the command git clone, paste that git link, make sure that you have git set up to run on your local computer, and then once that's cloned, and it may take a while, it's a big repository, is you're going to navigate to that directory, OpenSearch Dashboards. Then let's continue with the rest of the document. Now, just a little note here, the backend code runs Java. You need a corresponding version of Java that'll run, which is, as of this recording, Java versions 11 or 17. But the front end is written in JavaScript. And what you're going to do is you need to install the corresponding version of Node.js on your computer. And so what I like to use is what's called NVM, which is Node Version Manager. If you're familiar with Python, virtual environment is popular. This is a way to install different versions of Node on your computer and segregating dependencies with the different versions installed. So what you can do, I provided a link in the README. You can go read up on installation, follow these steps, and make sure you can type the NVM command on your computer. So if you do go onto your computer, type NVM, you should get some help text output for NVM here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to install the corresponding version of Node that's required to run OpenSearch Dashboards. So there is this .node version file in the repository. What I want you to do is go back to your terminal window, and you're going to run the command cat, which is short for concatenation, and then node-version, and you're going to see the version that OpenSearch Dashboards is running here. the next command I would have you run is nvm install and then that version. Now you'll see I already have it installed. Once you do install it, use nvm again, but write nvm use, and then you're now switched over to that version of Node. Now, you're also going to run through the developer guide for OpenSearch Dashboards as well. But the big step that I want you to follow here is, and this goes also again through NVM and Node, but here I want you to skip down where you see this command, yarn osd bootstrap, and I want you to run this. Now, if you do not have yarn installed, now you can go back to your terminal window and try running yarn. You should see something similar to below. But if you get a message that yarn does not exist, what I'm going to have you run is yarn install -g yarn. You can also use npm i-d. I would be short for install. npm, don't get that confused with nvm up above. nvm is the Node version manager. npm is the Node package manager. And so that's how you install dependencies in a Node project. And yarn is yet another package manager for Node. So once that's installed, once you have yarn installed, then you're going to run yarn osd bootstrap. And this command is going to take a while because it's going to go through the full list of dependencies in the package.json file for OpenSearch Dashboards, and it's going to install all of them. So give that a moment to complete. Now once that's complete, you're done with this setup here. Now you can run OpenSearch Dashboards with yarn start, but at this point in time you will not have the Security Dashboards plugin installed. So at this point in time, navigate back to the developer guide for the Security Dashboards plugin. And now we're going to continue with this guide here. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go into the configuration file for OpenSearch Dashboards, and you're going to copy the text here, and I'm going to go over, and 1 second, let me actually just stash my local changes real quick, and I'm going to open up that OpenSearch Dashboards file in a text editor. Here I'm using a program called Sublime Text, and you're going to paste the contents there at the end of the file. Now move on to the next step. At this point we still don't have the Security Dashboards plugin installed. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna go into the plugins directory here. So if I list the contents of this directory, you'll see a number of files and a number of directories. One of those directories is called plugins. What you're going to do is you're going to navigate into the plugins directory using the command cd plugins. Now you'll notice I have a lot of text on my screen. If at any point you want to clear your screen so that you're not always at the bottom, you can run the clear command. Along with this, you can also do pwd to print your working directory and just see that you're navigated into a directory that ends with OpenSearch Dashboards -plugins. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go back up to the root level of this repository, and now you're going to clone this repository into this folder. So similar steps as before, you would do git clone. Now this is a step I have previously done, and you're going to wait for it to clone the repository. Next, you can list the contents of the directory, and you should see the Dashboards plugin there. So what you'll do at this point is you're going to navigate to what you just cloned. So I'm just going to make sure my own repository is up to date, and then we're going to proceed with now we're going to proceed with the rest of the guide. So scrolling back down, now we're back at this point of the guide right here. And now what we have to run is, after you navigate into Security Dashboards plugin directory, you're going to run the command yarn builds. And similar to when you were navigated up above, this is installing now the specific dependencies to the Security Dashboards plugin. So Security Dashboards plugin inherits dependencies from OpenSearch Dashboards, but it might also additionally have its own dependencies, and so those must be installed as well. Now we're actually close to the finish here. So once we're done with this, we're going to navigate back up to OpenSearch Dashboards. You'll see cd ... means the parent directory, so this is going up twice. Remember, the parent directory of Security Dashboards plugins is that plugins directory, and then the parent directory of that is the root level of the OpenSearch Dashboards project. So I'm just going to wait for this command to finish over here, and then we'll try to run it, and hopefully it works. So while this is going on, I will just take a moment to say that when you run OpenSearch Dashboards this way, it is going to choose a random 3-letter route at the end of the URL. You'll see this in the output when you run yarn start. And as long as you go to 5601, it'll redirect you to the proper randomized route that it produces. So I'm actually going to cut ahead because I do have this already done on my computer, but I'm going to go back up and I'm going to run yarn start. And now this is starting OpenSearch Dashboards with the Security Dashboards plugin installed. So what it didn't like was 1.0 right here. So after the recording, I will update the developer guide. Sorry about that did not go without a hiccup. But what you're going to do at this point is you're going to go back to Sublime Text, and where you see that 0, you're going to do 0.0.0.0. Save that, then go back and run the yarn start command again. So give it a moment to boot up. I'll show you what to look for. So you'll see there, you'll see that base path proxy server up and running. You'll see some of this output start to stabilize by the time it's ready. So yeah, at this point where you see the 5603, that's where you know it is up and running. So at this point, you can, in your web browser, go to localhost 5601, and what you'll see at this point is the login screen. And sometimes it'll boot up immediately, sometimes it might take a second to navigate there. So just bear with it. You'll see this loading screen, and then you'll be prompted to enter username and password. So at this point, enter admin, similar as the curl command before, and log in. You now have OpenSearch Dashboards up and running, and you are ready to start making changes. If you go into OpenSearch Dashboards and change, let's say, the title of the web page, there is hot reloading. You should see it reload instantaneously. You might see a message here that says changes are made. You'll see here it's watching for changes. Once it sees the change made, it reloads, and you can reload the web page to see the change reflected immediately. Now, I do want you to click on the hamburger icon here as well, and just verify real quick that in this OpenSearch plugins portion, you do see security under this menu. And here is the security menu. This is what you're seeing, the UI for the Security Dashboards plugin. Here you can add users, and you can create roles, map users to roles. You can set up tenants and view permissions and audit log configuration. So thank you for watching this video. Good luck with your journey in Security and Security Dashboards plugin, and let's get building. Thank you.